Chapter 1: The Mysterious Professor. The students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry were abuzz with excitement. A new professor had joined the staff, and he was already creating a stir with his unusual methods and strange potions. His name was Professor Lingston, and he was unlike any professor they had ever met. The first day of class, Professor Lingston stepped into the classroom, a tall, imposing figure in his long black robes. He carried with him a small vial of dark purple liquid and called forth one of the students to come forward. "I have a special task for you, young wizard," said Professor Lingston, his voice deep and menacing. "I want you to drink this potion. It will give you powers beyond your wildest dreams." The student, who was eager to impress the new professor, stepped forward and took the vial. The potion was bitter, but he drank it without hesitation. Within moments, the student began to feel strange. His body tingled, and he felt as if he were overflowing with energy. He looked up at Professor Lingston, who was now towering over him, and felt a sense of fear. "You are mine now," said Professor Lingston, his eyes glowing with a sinister light. "You will do as I command. You will be my servant and obey me without question." The student was horrified. He had become the slave of Professor Lingston, bound to do his bidding. He was powerless to resist, and soon found himself working in the dungeons, brewing strange potions and casting dark spells. As the days passed, the students of Hogwarts whispered of the mysterious professor and his powers. Some said he was a wizard of great skill and power, others whispered that he was a servant of the dark arts. But no one dared to confront Professor Lingston, for they feared his wrath. And so, the student remained trapped, his life forever changed by the potion that had given him powers beyond his control. Chapter 2: The Truth Behind the Potion. Days passed and Professor Lingston continued to ask more and more students to drink his potion. More and more students became trapped in his web of deceit, enslaved by his dark magic. But one student, Eugene, was not so easily fooled. He had heard the whispers and rumors about Professor Lingston and his dark powers. He was determined to find out the truth. Eugene spent hours poring over books in the library, researching everything he could find about Professor Lingston and his strange potions. He discovered that the professor was using the students as part of a dark ritual to bring back Lord Voldemort from the dead. Shocked and horrified, Eugene realized that he had to do something to stop Professor Lingston and his evil plan. He began to gather evidence, determined to bring the truth to light. One day, Eugene gathered all of the students who had fallen under Professor Lingston's spell and told them the truth about their situation. They were horrified and eager to help, and together they formed a plan to stop the professor and put an end to his evil scheme. Eugene and the students worked tirelessly, gathering information and putting together a plan to stop Professor Lingston. They knew that their mission was dangerous, but they were determined to save their fellow students and stop the evil that threatened their school. As they worked, Eugene could feel a sense of fear growing within him. He knew that Professor Lingston was powerful, and he was not sure if they would be able to stop him. But he also knew that he could not back down, for the fate of Hogwarts and the entire wizarding world was at stake. Eugene and the students stood before Professor Lingston, ready to confront him and put a stop to his evil plan. They know that the outcome is uncertain, but they are determined to fight for what is right. Chapter 3: The Confrontation. Eugene and the students stood before Professor Lingston, ready to confront him and put an end to his evil plan. Lingston sneered at them, his eyes glowing with a malevolent light. "So, you have discovered the truth," he said. "But it is too late. The ritual is already underway, and Lord Voldemort will soon be reborn." Eugene stepped forward, determined to put an end to the professor's evil scheme. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. "Why do you want to bring back Lord Voldemort?" Professor Lingston laughed, a harsh, cold sound. "Because he will destroy all the Muggles in the world. He will create a new world, one where magic is the only power. And I will be by his side, ruling over the wizarding world. Eugene and the students tried to fight back, using their magic to try and stop Professor Lingston. But they were no match for his dark powers, and they were quickly overpowered. Only Eugene managed to escape, running as fast as he could back to the castle. He ran through the halls of Hogwarts, his heart racing with fear. He had failed to stop Professor Lingston, and now Lord Voldemort would be reborn. The future of the wizarding world hung in the balance, and he did not know what he could do to save it. Eugene collapsed in a dark corner of the castle, exhausted and defeated. He knows that he cannot stop Professor Lingston alone, and he must find help if he hopes to save the wizarding world from Lord Voldemort's wrath. Chapter 4, A Desperate Plea. Eugene knew that he needed help to stop Professor Lingston, and he was determined to find it. He remembered hearing about a new headmaster at Hogwarts, Mr. Reslint, who was said to be powerful and wise. Eugene made his way to Mr. Reslint's office, hoping that he would listen to his plea. When he arrived, he was met with a skeptical expression. "I find it hard to believe your story," Mr. Reslint said. "Professor Lingston has been at Hogwarts for many years, and he is well respected among the faculty." Eugene was desperate. "Please, sir, you must believe me. Professor Lingston is using dark magic to control the students and the faculty. He is using them as part of a ritual to bring back Lord Voldemort." Mr. Reslint was hesitant, but something in Eugene's eyes made him believe that he was telling the truth. He agreed to follow Eugene to Professor Lingston's office to see for himself. When they arrived, they found Professor Lingston deep in the midst of his dark ritual. He had already enslaved many of the students and faculty, including the headmaster. Eugene was horrified to see the extent of Professor Lingston's power, and he tried to escape. But it was too late. Professor Lingston had already seen them, and he used his dark magic to capture Eugene. He forced Eugene to drink the potion, making him a slave like the rest. Eugene's heart sank as he realized that he had failed. He was now just another pawn in Professor Lingston's evil scheme. Eugene is now a slave to Professor Lingston, standing in his office with the headmaster and the other students, waiting for the return of Lord Voldemort. The future of the wizarding world hangs in the balance, and there seems to be no hope of stopping the evil that threatens to consume them all. Chapter 5, A Ghostly Intervention. Professor Lingston continued with his dark ritual, killing one student after another. The students were powerless to resist, trapped under his mind control. But suddenly, Eugene began to feel a strange sensation in his mind. It was like a ghostly hand was reaching out to him, breaking through the hold that the potion had on him. He looked around and saw that he was the only one who had broken free from Professor Lingston's control. He was filled with a sudden surge of hope, realizing that he may have a chance to stop the evil professor after all. But as he tried to move, he felt a strange pain in his chest. He looked down and saw that a ghostly apparition was emerging from his body. It was a ghost of one of the students who had died at the hands of Professor Lingston. The ghostly apparition spoke to Eugene, its voice like a whisper on the wind. "I cannot rest until justice is served," it said. "Use my magic to stop Professor Lingston." Eugene was filled with a newfound strength, knowing that he had the ghost's magic to help him. He focused his thoughts, feeling the power of the ghost's magic coursing through his veins. With a fierce battle cry, he launched himself at Professor Lingston, determined to stop him once and for all. The two clashed in a fierce battle of magic, their powers flying back and forth. Eugene and Professor Lingston gets locked in a battle. The fate of the wizarding world is now hanging in the balance. The ghost's magic gives Eugene the strength to fight against the professor, but the outcome of the battle is far from certain. Chapter 6, A Battle Won. Eugene and Professor Lingston were locked in a fierce battle, their magic clashing in a dazzling display of power. But suddenly, Eugene felt a surge of energy as more and more ghostly apparitions emerged from the ether. The ghosts of the students who had fallen at the hands of Professor Lingston had come to offer their aid. They circled around the battle, their combined magic forming a powerful shield around Eugene. With newfound strength, Eugene redoubled his efforts, determined to bring an end to Professor Lingston's evil once and for all. The two wizards clashed in a final showdown, their magic crackling through the air. And then, with a final burst of energy, Eugene defeated Professor Lingston, freeing the headmaster and the students from his mind control. The ghosts dissipated back into the ether, their work done. Eugene stood tall, his heart pounding with the thrill of victory. He had saved the wizarding world from a great evil, and the future was bright with hope. The headmaster and the students cheered, their spirits lifted by the defeat of Professor Lingston. They thanked Eugene for his bravery and quick thinking, and together they celebrated their victory. And so, the story of Eugene and Professor Lingston came to a close, a tale of bravery, magic, and the triumph of good over evil. The students of Hogwarts went on to lead lives filled with adventure and wonder, and the wizarding world was a brighter and safer place because of their actions. If you liked this video, please give it a like and share. Subscribe the channel for more amazing stories.